Fruits are something that we're all supposed to eat, but sometimes don't for one reason or another. But what might surprise you is that not only are there a bunch of good fruits out there in the world, there are many that you've likely never even been introduced to. Ones that have unique shapes, colors, and even tastes. So, from fruits I'll barely be able to even pronounce to the purple akiba, here are 20 most unique fruits you've never heard of. Number 20. Jabuticaba. Now, first up on the unique fruits list is the jabuticaba, and there's honestly a very simple reason you've never heard of it. It's from Brazil. Now, that in and of itself is not exactly a deal breaker per se, as places like the United States have trade agreements with Brazil and various other countries from South America. But with this fruit, the reason you haven't heard of it, or even likely tasted it, is that it's highly perishable. It isn't even shipped out of the nations that it's grown in. Because as we all know, you don't really want to buy a fruit that's going to die within a day or two of purchase in case you forget to eat it. You're going to want something that at the very least will last a while. But the jabuticaba, that's just not the case if you're trying to eat it outside of South America. Thankfully, though, we do know some things about it, including what it's supposed to taste like, and in this case, it's grapes, which I personally love, to be honest. The jabuticaba is said to not just have a fruity taste, but also a flowery one, which makes sense given that the tree this fruit grows from also happens to grow flowers alongside it. So, you want to go there? By all means, but I'll focus on the fruit. This photo is apparently a very special fruit. Clearly, it's from Vietnam, known as the milk melon. According to those who've tried it, not only is it a very tasty fruit, but one that left them feeling energized afterwards. So tell us, if you saw this fruit in the wild, would you be curious enough to eat it? Let me know what you think in the comments below using the hashtag #FancyTopic. Now then, let's carry on with the list. Number 19. The purple akibi fruit. Next up, we head to Japan for a curious fruit known as the purple akibi. It's one that will help you see exactly why the fruit is so strange. Mainly, it looks like it's already broken into and its core is exposed, but that's just how it regularly appears. It was first found in the forests alongside the mountain areas of Japan, and for a long time was used as an indicator that the fall season was approaching due to when it bloomed. Now, there are several ironic things about this fruit that should be noted, and not the least of which is while it is a fruit, it's not exactly a particularly good one on its own. You see, that's because Japan has known about the fruit for a while, but they don't market it because it has a rather bland flavor. And to be honest, we have enough bland things in our life, so why add another? Add to that, the purple akibi has a rough life while in storage, so it's not that practical in a lot of ways. But then a twist came along. Specifically, someone went and cultivated the fruit in such a way that it became a popular exotic item. So much so that the newly remade purple akibi is a popular item for tourists and those who want a rare fruit. It gives an interesting twist to the phrase, "one man's trash is another man's treasure." Number 18. Buddha's hand. If you were to go and look at the Buddha's hand, you might think that this is either a very messed up fruit or one that's from an alien world, because it definitely doesn't have that typical fruit look, and you're right to have suspicions about it on a certain level. This is what's known as a fingered citron, a kind of citrus fruit that diverges from other citrus products for multiple reasons, not the least of which is that this is a fruit that only has a rind in it, meaning that there's no seeds, no pulp, and no juice. So it's not your typical kind of fruit. According to those who know the fruit, it originated in India and then would be brought to China by Buddhist monks, which is not really uncommon when you think about it. Over time, the Buddha's hand got a very positive reputation, and not just because of its very fragrant smell, but in the fact that it became a symbol But what kind of symbol could a fruit really be? Well, one of happiness and longevity. Don't think about it, just accept it. So much so that the symbol's used as an offering during the new lunar year to try and grow the happiness and longevity of the people. Oh, and here's a fun fact. Before the fruit can be sold, it has to be cleaned, and the shape makes that hard to do, so it can actually take about 30 minutes to clean just one of them. Good luck with that. Number 17. Durian. If there were two of these fruits next to each other, would it be durian? Just like Duran. Never mind. While we may have made a joke, the people of Southeast Asia believe that this fruit is no joke at all, because they refer to durian as the king of fruits. So kneel before it, you peasants! But seriously though, what makes it the king among fruits? Well, that would be the nutrients that are within. All fruits have some kind of positive nutrients that are good for your body. That's why they're healthy foods most of the time. But in the case of your body and the durian, it has more nutritional content than pretty much all other fruits out there that we currently know of. The catch though, well, first of all, while it may be kingly in its state and its taste, it does have a very prickly exterior, which you could argue most kings have. Not to mention the smell of the fruit. You can add your own joke to that one. It's said to be rather strong, so it's not going to exactly appeal to everyone on visuals alone. However, the taste apparently makes up for it. Just as important is the size of the fruit, as it can get to be about a foot in length and 6 inches wide. So it might just be the king after all, and you can decide after you taste it. Number 16. Cherimoya. Cherimoya is another unique fruit that you'll likely not have heard of, but one look at it and you're not likely to forget. Due to its skin and shape, it's known as the custard apple to many in South America, which honestly doesn't sound too bad in principle. It's also a very special kind of fruit that's grown in high altitudes, but its nickname is much more appropriate than you may realize. Because unlike more basic fruits where you just take a bite out of them after they're peeled, you will truly go and eat this fruit like it's a thing of custard. I'm drooling just thinking about it. As for what it tastes like, it does have a fruity feel to it, including being likened to pineapples or bananas, which is absolutely scrumptious sounding. The other good thing about the cherimoya is that it's one that is high in nutrients and other things. For example, it's full of antioxidants, and that can apparently make your mood better, which we all need. It can also potentially help with the health of your eyeballs and more. Yeah, we know what you're thinking, this fruit's too good to be true. Well, you'd be correct, because it turns out that if you go and eat too much of it, some of its benefits might go and crash your nervous system. So as with all things, ladies and gentlemen, moderation. Number 15. Mangosteen. Next up, we have the mangosteen, which might appeal to certain people who have a specific taste, because it's known to be both sweet and sour. Not unlike certain other fruits that I've shown you, this fruit originates from the southeast of Asia, but then it went and got distributed all over the world. In terms of its looks, this is where the fruit gets really unique, because as you can see, the mangosteen has a deep purple hue that makes it look like certain other fruit on the market, but when you open it up, it's got a really special white interior. This is called the inner flesh. But honestly, I'm a bit creeped out by that name, so I'll likely not use it again. The bad news is that while this fruit may be grown all over the world, it's still a pretty obscure one, and thus not something you'll be able to just get in any old supermarket. However, if you do, you really should try it, because it's full of things like nutrients, fiber, and unique antioxidants, all of which can be helpful for your body, and we all know that you need all the help you can get. Number 14. Rambutan. Now, shall I talk about the rambutan? because this fruit definitely has potential for those who are wanting to try it. In terms of where you can find it, it's known to be in countries like Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines, along with Australia, which just goes to show just where it's popular in the world in terms of location. And as you've no doubt noticed, the rambutan are a fruit that don't exactly look the nicest. In fact, they're kind of hairy and look like creatures that may dwell in the sea, but they're actually fruit. Ironically, the rambutan is honestly a word for hairy, so at least the fruit admits what it is right off the bat. However, not unlike the stories of old that have been told, once you get past the hairy layer, you're going to find a rather sweet treat. In fact, it's a 2-for-1 deal because the insides not only have a section of white fruit to enjoy, but an edible seed for you to snack on as well. Diversification is always appreciated. What's more, if you do find one of these in the wild and they're actually ripe, they'll usually be red and sometimes yellow, then you'll be able to eat them after you peel them with no cooking required. They apparently taste like strawberries, and they're really nice to smell. Number 13. Mamoncillo. The mamoncillo are also known as Spanish limes, so now you have a good indication of what lies ahead for you in this entry. Not unlike any other fruit, the mamoncillo are one that's grown in clusters and are known to be in groups of 12 or more hanging from trees. But the interesting part, when they're harvested, they don't take the clusters, they take the whole branch that the clusters are on and then they sell the fruit as the cluster. Part of this is that the fruits themselves are only about 3 to 4 centimeters wide, so they're not too big, but they are almost perfectly round, giving them the ability to really cluster together. Moving on to what the fruit is like, it's honestly multi-layered. For example, the pulp is said to be gelatinous, which I don't really want to picture, and the fruit part itself actually goes and clings to a set of 2 seeds within. You do need to make sure that you get your mamoncillo fresh for the simple reason that if you don't, it's going to be really super sour. But if you do get it right, ripe, you'll have a sweet treat that's very much like limes. Number 12. Kiwano. And now I'll talk about melons, because I love melons a lot. There are all sorts of great melons out there, the greatest of which is probably the watermelon, so fight me and you'll lose. However, if you do want to see an exotic melon, then look no further than the Kiwano. Although if you do look at it, it may make you feel a bit weird. In fact, it's so weird looking that some actually know it as the African horned cucumber, which is appropriate given the protrusions that come out of its body. Now you may be thinking, I'm not going to eat that, but if you can get past the prickly exterior, you'll find a fruit that's honestly rather good for you. For example, it's got vitamin A, B6, C, iron, potassium, calcium, and only 92 small calories. So that's a healthy fruit. You still want more? Well, it's known to have a very powerful amount of antioxidants within that can help your body as well as your red blood cell count. And trust me when I say this, there's more to the Kiwano than just that. While it may look a bit odd, or really odd in fact, you should give it a shot if you have the chance. Number 11. Red banana. It's a banana. Alright, on to the next topic. I'm just kidding. To be clear, this is a real banana. The catch, though, is that it's known to be shorter, wider, and have a bit more girth than your standard banana, which tends to be long and thin. Furthermore, while you can go and eat regular bananas if they're not ripe, if you don't really mind a different taste, if you do that with the red banana, you're going to find yourself eating something that's basically starch, and nobody wants that. That being said, if you're patient enough, like you're supposed to be, and wait for it to get ripe, you're going to find yourself with a raspberry taste that's also really creamy in texture. Not surprisingly, due to its upside, it's the most sought-after banana in the world after the standard one. And it honestly has a bit more nutritional value than the standard one in certain ways. No matter how you look at it, it's very delicious. Number 10. Monstera Deliciosa. Monstera deliciosa is a very unique fruit, both in terms of its name and how you're supposed to eat it, because apparently if you try and prep it the wrong way, things are going to go bad. Some even joke that you need an instruction manual just to eat it alone, which is saying something when you think about it. And surely they're just playing with you, right? Well, wrong, because this fruit has something in its unripe state that's going to make you regret eating it like that. Acid. Specifically, oxalic acid, which is used to go and, bleach wood and get metal to look less rusty, so you definitely don't want that going inside of you. And in fact, those who are dumb enough to try it find that their throats get hurt in all kinds of ways. All of those warnings being said, the reason that this fruit is called Monstera deliciosa is because when you do wait for it to get ripe, it has a monster flavor that can't be ignored. Mainly because it's said to be a mix of fruit tastes, and it's so good that in the countries it's grown, they actually make it into jam. Number 9. Challah fruit. Hey there, fruit, holla back at me, yeah! Alright, well, anyways. As for the real challah fruit, it's one that's very curious in looks and how you can eat it, because it's a fruit where you can very much go and eat various sections of it, but it can also be large in its own right and grow together on a rather tall tree that's apparently rather impressive to behold. Now, because of the various sections of the fruit, you might wonder just what you can and cannot eat. Typically, you'll need to remove the flanges of the fruit in order to eat it, but sometimes it's not that easy due to all the parts within. Sometimes you have to go really deep into it to get what you want. It's a lot of work just to taste what it's like. But once you get to the true innards, you can either eat it or just suck out all of that pulp in order to get to the good stuff. It's not easy, but it was never a challah back fruit, was it? Number 8. Ackee. There are certain fruits in the world that are said to be rather special, not the least of which is that they're fruits, but they act or grow like vegetables in certain ways. Kind of like how the tomato is. However, the ackee is another fruit that's confirmed to be a fruit, but you treat it like a vegetable when you're ready to cook it. Oh, the wonder of natures. It gets better though, or worse, depending on how you look at it, because if you cook it the right way, you're going to get a wonderful taste. One that fits the fact that the ackee is the national fruit of Jamaica. But the catch, if you prepare it wrong and you leave the seeds inside, you're 100% guaranteed to get absolutely sick. So sick, in fact, that they have a name for it in the form of Jamaican vomiting sickness. Doesn't that sound delightful? Here's a hint. No, it doesn't. The other irony here is that the fruit is said to go and let you know on its own when it's ready to cook, because it'll just open up. It's smart, yet terrifying at the same time. Oh, and remember all that sickness part? Well, due to that, the only way that you can get ackee in the United States is if it's in canned form, meaning that by the point it's fully prepared, and it has to follow a whole bunch of FDA guidelines or else it's 100% illegal. Number 7. Keppel. Keppel fruits are the first ones that you think are basic in certain ways, which includes the exterior and the insides, where they very much resemble avocados. However, they're a different kind of fruit that grows from a tree in such numbers that the fruit are said to literally envelop the tree. Oh, but it gets better. In the literal sense this time. The Keppel was so revered at one point in time that only the royal family could eat them. Even more, they kept this mandate going for hundreds of years. Now just imagine that for a second. Having a fruit right in front of you, but being told you can't eat it because you're not royalty. Well, I'd totally steal the fruit just to try it out. But that right there is where one of the biggest rubs with the fruit comes in, because while it has been made legal to go and eat without fear of punishment, it's not exactly easy to get your hands on. It's a fruit that's going to take a long time to grow, only about 8 to 10 years, so thus it's a scarce market in order to get them. Number 6. The Chupa Chupa. Now, no, I didn't say that twice accidentally. It's actually called the Chupa Chupa. The Chupa Chupa has a very curious look that may make it a little off-putting to some at first, mainly because it has brown skin that looks as if it has dust all over it. But don't worry, that's not the case. Well, most of the time. Regardless of that, once you get inside the fruit, you're going to find a very nice orange interior that you can devour, one that's got a very sweet and sour flavor to it. So I'm sure that a lot of you will enjoy it. But wait, there's more. Have you ever heard the term use every part of the buffalo? It means to not let a single part go to waste, and the Chupa Chupa is a great example of that, because the skin can be used for timber and the seeds of it can be used to create all kinds of makeup. That being said, due to the condition of the world, the fruit is at risk of being endangered, all the more reason to get our act together and save the planet. Number 5. Black sapote. Now I move on to the black sapote, which is part of history in its own unique way and has traveled to many places in the world during its time. This includes being with Spain in 1692 and then eventually to America by the time of the Revolutionary War. While the ripe exterior is green, when you cut into it, you're going to see that the interior is honestly really chocolate colored, which really has me wanting chocolate now. Once you do bite into it, you're going to get a very sweet taste, one that's quite good for you as well. I say that because the black sapote apparently has 6 times the amount of vitamin C that you need in one daily dose. Over the years, people have not only grown fond of the black sapote, they figured out various ways to bring out its sweet flavors in the ways that make it irresistible. Although it should be added that one of those ways is to go and add rum, and we all know what that leads to. Number 4. Miracle fruit. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I give you a fruit that is a true miracle unto our world. Oh, what's that, Assad? It's just called a miracle fruit? It's not really a miracle? I hope it's not one of those dumb Dr. Oz things. Well, the actual miracle fruit, as it turns out, is from a shrub in West Africa, and the reason that it's called the miracle fruit is not only can you go and eat it, you can use it in various medicines. For example, it apparently can help treat diabetes, which is something that a whole lot of people sadly have, and it can help correct certain issues that have come from getting chemotherapy treatments. But you may be asking yourself, come on now, how does it work? Well, apparently the miracle fruit has a chemical within it that can activate certain things with your tongue to the extent that it will go and make sour things taste sweet, even being used as a sweetener, like the product. But don't go believing everyone who says they have a miracle fruit for you. However, if it's this one, that would be pretty cool. Number 3. Kupwaku. Now, it shouldn't be that big of a surprise that a place as vast as the Amazon rainforest has all sorts of unique fruits that you don't know about, and it's not a big surprise that I probably pronounced this fruit incorrectly, because a lot of you like to point things like that out in the comments. But in regards to the fruit known as the kupwaku, if you do go and get it, you're in for a real treat. So much so that the natives who go and get it use it in desserts, or they just go full on and make a juice out of it. And that sounds pretty tasty itself. If you are curious as just to how this thing is, you'll be happy to know that Brazil loves it so much that they've made it their national fruit, so clearly it's doing something right. Oh, and mimicking the use every part of the buffalo statement, well, its seeds can be turned into a cooking oil or even beauty materials. It's no wonder that Brazil made it the national fruit. Number 2. The pepino. The pepino is a melon fruit that apparently comes from a plant that is a hard worker, which is odd because plants have to work hard to survive, but who are we to judge? This is a fruit that's going to have a very unique look in that it's mostly yellow, but it also has streaks of purple going through it at some points. What we can judge though is the size, and this melon can get pretty big. Said to be small like a passion fruit at points, or to go and be the size of an adult's hand. Oh, and if you want to know how good it is, you don't really need to ask humans. You just need to go and ask the animals and insects that are drawn to the fruit and are more than happy to eat it if you don't want to. However, if you do want to, you're going to want to know what it tastes like, because apparently it can be a little bit diverse. According to those who have had it, it's a mixture of a cucumber, a cantaloupe, and a honeydew. Though to get the best taste, you'll need to wait until it's 100% ripe. So have some patience, why don't you? Number 1. Dragon fruit. The dragon fruit might honestly be a fruit that you're familiar with, depending on how much you pay attention to fruits, because it's very popular. But why is that? Well, it's because it can summon a dragon. Well, not really, but could you just imagine if it did? That'd be the best fruit ever. Seriously though, the real reason that dragon fruit is so popular these days is that it's got a special look and taste to it, and it's said to go and be very healthy for you, which is immediately a reason for most people to try it, to be honest. Another factor is in terms of why you may not have heard of it. That's because it's grown in Central America and Mexico. Due to that, it honestly goes by many other names than just dragon fruit, but if I'm being honest, none of them are as cool as that. The fruit comes in different colors as well, just like real dragons, so be on the lookout for them next time you're at the store. The fruit, not dragons.